Welcome to Cobra Kai Canada. I am your host, Alir, and today I got the creators of Cobra Kai, Jon Hurwitz, Josh Heald, and Hayden Schlossberg. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Be back.
Awesome. So we're going to get right to it. I want to talk about my favorite scene of the series because there's a lot to digest here. Episode 14, Strike Last. Now, this scene is so iconic because we had two Titans battling out. And before we talk about it, I want to quote something Jon Hurwitz wrote on his social media account about this particular scene. The stakes were extremely high, not only because it was expensive and logistical nightmare to pull off. Now, if you could all please explain to me and the viewers what was at stake here and why was this scene so difficult?
I mean, this was the very last thing that we ever shot for Cobra Kai. And it was on the last day of production. We had moved production. We had wrapped production in Atlanta. We had a couple of days in Los Angeles. This is on, day 2 of 2 in Los Angeles. It's the entirety of the climax of that episode in terms of that confrontation and the fight that happens on that boat and the aftermath. And that was something we had been pitching and fighting for a couple of years, trying to get to that place where we had the resources to pull that off. We were able to pull off a lot of magic tricks on this show in terms of, having a location of a house that feels like a billionaire might live in it, and where we're able to do a karate fight. We've been able to pull off, a massive school fight, on a location where, we have a kid fall off a balcony. This was, really big eyes in terms of what we wanted to pull off. We wanted to take a yacht, go out to sea, have a fight to the death, on top of it, and then blow it up. And we just had laser eyes on that the whole time. Even though it was in the distance, it was something that was coming. And finally, here it is. We're there, and it's not the only thing we're shooting that day. There's a lot on our schedule to get done. There's everything that happens on the inside of that boat for multiple episodes with Terry Silver having conversations. It's everything on the beach with Johnny and Daniel that has yet to air for episode. There's a lot that's happening down by the water, that by the time you actually get the crew on the boat and the boat is leaving, the dock, and we're going out to sea to film everything you see that happens above deck, which is their entire conversation, their entire fight, all the drone work, and some additional shots for other episodes of the boat. The sun is starting to go down. The day is just getting away from everybody, and it's feeling like we're leaving dock with about a little over 2 hours until it's pure darkness. And by the time we get out to far enough waters where we can shoot and it doesn't feel like we're right up against land, you got about an hour and a half. And things take a long time. Like when we're shooting an average fight scene and confrontation between two characters on Cobra Kai, that's usually our morning. If you have a scene where it's Silver and Kreese versus Johnny at the old dojo location, and they sucker kick Johnny and they have a whole back and forth, and Johnny ends up going into sawhorses. That's 6 hours. So we're just looking at this, and I'm directing this. I'm looking at Jon and Hayden and going, what are we going to do? We have an hour and a half. They each have a ton of dialogue, and it's the meatiest dialogue, and it's the most meaningful dialogue that's happened yet between them, because it's wrapping it up. It's the last things they're ever going to say to each other. And then we have this complex fight that our stunt coordinators have worked out with them, and with stunt doubles and everything else, and we have to get drones in the sky. And it's just one of those things where it doesn't feel like it's ever going to come together. and like the heavens intervened, and all of a sudden, you're shooting take one, and Marty Cove and Thomas C. and Ian Griffith are just firing on all cylinders, where you're seeing the performance right out of the gate, and you don't have to get 3 and 4 and 5 takes to get adjustments. And you're going, we got it. We got the dialogue. And you look at your watch and go, we actually might pull this off. And you start to get adrenalized because you're not drowning anymore, feeling like there's no way in hell this is going to work out. You're realizing that everyone came to play. Everyone is moving fast. Your cameras are just, people are moving things around. Because we're on a boat, you have no lighting. It's just shoot, shoot, shoot. And it was the most frenetic, the most scary, but the most fulfilling, wrap you could possibly have when we finally got everything.
The one thing I'll add just to add to it is why it was also stressful is we make a very ambitious show on a very tight budget. This is not a show that has a crazy budget, and getting this boat was a big expense. And it was just a big challenge there. And there was a moment where Josh, comes over to me and he says, be prepared. You may need to call Sony at some point and ask for an extra half day on this boat, because none of us believed we were going to get the whole thing. And just to end your whole 6 seasons of a show where you've been really, responsible and gotten everything done under budget, and you've just, pulled off magic trick after magic trick, for the final magic trick to go haywire and to have your tail between your legs and make that call was something that was very it was upsetting.
Well, it felt like with every piece of information we had in front of us, based on everything that had happened for the past 6 seasons, it felt like either we weren't going to get the fight or we weren't going to get the dialogue, and we were going to have to choose our lane. Do we want to get the dialogue really great, or do we want to get the fight really great?
Sure.
And when the dialogue came together so fast and so naturally, and these guys just started emoting and talking to one another in a way that it was flowing out of their mouths as if it wasn't even scripted, and we captured that with cameras, you start going, there is a shot. It's almost it's that moment in Endgame where it's we have one in a gazillion opportunities of pulling this off, and because they did that, now we might actually be able to do that.
Wow. Yeah, there's like I said earlier, there's so much to digest in this scene, right? Because there's a lot going on. And like you said, you guys had an aerial view, like a drone up in the air filming, and you guys were on a boat as well onto the side of the yacht. And that was crazy. I've seen some behind the scenes pictures that John and actually Martin posted on their social media account. And I was like, I got to ask these guys all about this scene. It's just, two iconic characters. And speaking of these two iconic characters, I got to throw something out there, if you guys don't mind. Now, you guys know better than anyone else that Cobra Kai fans, they're notorious for their theories. I admit I'm one of them. But that's what makes this show so much fun, right? Hypothetically, whether they are both dead or both alive or one of the two alive, it doesn't matter to me, because this particular scene to me is so controversial. At least from a fan perspective. And I like the fact that I want to believe John Kreese is still alive, whether he got washed up shore, whatever the case may be, or if he's probably dead swimming with the fishes. To me, that's cinema. And I know this is kind of the direction you guys may have been going. Is that kind of what you guys wanted the fans to, have an open mind to what to believe?
There were a lot of different things. I'll just say I wanted something where there was just a cigar invisible in the last couple things that maybe a fan would be oh my God, is Kreese still alive? But there got to be this, that there was talk of he's at the All Valley in the last episode, kind of in the shadows, and you see Dark Man, him clapping, or a cigar with a bandage on his hand. And it just became a thing of if you show that he actually lived, if you have your kind of Nightmare on Elm Street last scene where you're Freddy's still alive, it kind of takes away, first of all, it's just strange credulity, but then it also makes it where it's kind of less of a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. But I do at the same time, it's I like the idea of feeding into fan theories, because like, you know, you could do whatever you want if you're a fan. And the fact is, Kreese does, you know, like come back from the dead a bunch of times in the past. So it is in character for him to survive. And so like the audience can, you know, think whatever they want to think. But the, you know, important thing there was that like he was making this like sacrifice, you know, and that it, like the only way to stop Terry Silver from wreaking havoc was, you know, just a giant fireball.
Yeah, I mean, we were not, you know, creating the end of this episode to be like David Chase ending The Sopranos. And
that's what I was thinking.
Leave it up to the audience to decide. We, you know, we wrote in the script that they died. We showed the boat explode into a gazillion pieces in a fiery blaze. It was meant to be, you know, a clear, you know, period. Like they die, period. But we're not going to stop the fandom from wanting that fantasy of like, could he have survived? Because that's born out of the love for the character and the love for what Marty Cove, you know, did for that character. Because Kreese has turned, you know, and has shown that he's willing to sacrifice himself, you want him to live through that. But this was meant to be the final moment.
It was meant to be a death, but I will say, like, to Hayden's point, I'll say, like, we did toy with like having Kreese in the deep background, Darkman style. We did film a moment for the finale where, you know, in the final episode, you see that Sports Illustrated in that montage. We did film that day, the camera moving over further, and you see this magazine that has Terry Silver on the cover, and like, where is Terry Silver kind of thing. And we had Marty there put his hand in and pick up the magazine. So we did do those things to cover ourselves, to give ourselves the shot with it, while to 100% our intent was for him to be dead. We did feel like ourselves, the fans in us, wanted to believe that maybe Kreese survived. And then while filming it, we knew we weren't going to use it. We were just like, there's no way we're using this because it's ridiculous. It's insane to show that, because it just destroys the credibility of the final episode of our show. But beyond that, it was one of those things that, like, once we saw the fireball and the visual effects, we're like, they died. They just died. Okay, they died. That was like our reaction to seeing it as fans ourselves. We're like, they're dead.
Right.
Like, no matter what the wishful thinking that we had, we made it where they're dead.
I will say, though, having seen the show Landman and seeing what happens when an explosion, you know, launches people out.
Hayden has seen one explosion in cinema in the last 20 years.
Well, it was a very realistic thing.
So on land,
the explosion itself could have blown them back.
Yeah,
and
but
if they were blown back,
what about the
not where they were? The two guys who were that were the explosion on Landman were burnt to a crisp.
You keep watching.
No. It was the explosion. It's a question of how far away you are and all.
They were right next. They were 6 feet from the blast.
They were in a pool of gasoline.
Yeah, they were in a pool of gasoline, 6 feet from the blast.
I don't think they had gasoline on them. But anyway, bottom line was,
I think there was gasoline on
you wrote a script that said
the irony here. The irony here is I was the one that was the most like, don't show his hand and don't make it where he's alive, and I'm also the one that's wants fans to question it the most.
Yeah, you're a troll.
I'm not a troll. I just I like you know, all possibilities.
I like fan discussion as well. I'm happy about the fan discussion. I'll put it that way.
I don't like it.
And this is the exact reason why I brought up this scene, is because, like, I hear Josh and John's point of view and I hear Hayden's point of view. But like I said, no offense to you, Josh and John, I gotta go with Hayden on this one, because I like to believe, hey, listen, Kreese faked his death many times. We all know that. You guys know that more than anybody else. And I still like to believe, like, there is a slight possibility. And it goes back to what
he's faked his death. Said he's dead. They're like, it wasn't like some grand plan where he blew up in front of you and then you realize that he's actually composed of like little creases that form one big crease. It's like someone said, tell them I'm dead. Like, that was his grand plan. Like, this is like, we saw him explode. So I have a harder time believing that, like,
But I'm happy that
again, we didn't see him explode. We saw a boat explode.
Exactly.
We'll see.
Yeah, I gotta
we saw a very, very wide shot of a boat exploding. So I 100% agree with.
I'm going to leave this interview. I don't like the conspiracy theory. I don't like feeding into it.
I'm just saying. I think I'm somebody who
doing a
feels
disservice
like
to the fandom to act like you're wishy-washy. You're saying we killed him, but maybe we didn't. I don't know. Like that. I pick a lane. I like.
You know what I was like behind the scenes. You know what I wanted in the thing. All I'm saying is when you actually see what we shot and you look at it,
it's dead. He's dead. He's 100% dead. Nobody would survive that. Nobody. Zero people.
My opinion is it's very unlikely that he would have survived that. Very unlikely.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying too. It's very unlikely, but it's still open up for discussion. Because
no, it's not. It's not.
If anybody could, it would be Sensei Kreese in a fictional universe. Like in a fictional universe, Sensei Kreese could survive that.
In a cartoon where he's made
my own flesh and blood in real life, probably not.
You know what? I gotta have you guys back again for this discussion, and we'll.
I'm never talking about this again.
Yeah, this is over.
Yeah. What did I start here? I apologize, but this was a lot of fun.
It's okay. The show's over now.
For the time being, at least. And
thank God that was the last scene we shot.
Oh boy, that was crazy. So thanks to modern technology such as CGI and tools like AI voiceovers, we got to see Mr. Miyagi appear on screen again with Daniel LaRusso and dream sequences. How difficult of a task was it to bring an iconic character such as Mr. Miyagi back to life? And was this always like the initial plan you guys had from the beginning, or sort of a like tribute? Maybe like you guys had like planned before or after? Like how like difficult was it to like bring Mr. Miyagi back?
It was really difficult. I'll say It was really difficult. I'll say beyond that, it was not our initial plan. When we started the series, we didn't think we would ever show Pat Morita, and have new scenes with Pat Morita on the show. The technology wasn't there, and it was not where we were like looking to go at that time. I know that we were happy with the flashbacks and with the extra dailies that we had to get any extra new angles if we wanted. And we would play with things that felt like a Miyagi presence and that kind of thing, but we never saw ourselves going here. As the story evolved and as the technology got better, it started to be like, this is something that maybe we could do if people were on board for it. We didn't want to just do this. It was working with his estate to make sure that everybody was on board for it, and Ralph making phone calls and just making sure that everybody was good with it. And it was also born out of, this was something that Ralph really wanted very much as well. It was something that, he had brought up to us, the idea of him and Miyagi fighting together. He loved the idea of them fighting together. And it was something that, we liked that idea. With the technology was far enough that we're like, okay, in the story, we can do that. We like the idea of first him fighting against Miyagi. And then it was like, then they could have the payoff being them fighting together. And in terms of like the whole process, it was a challenge. It was, you had to find somebody with the right, body type to play him. Luckily, our fight coordinator, Don Lee, is of similar height. And had such a reverence for that character that he knew how to fight exactly like him. We had to, bulk him up a little bit because they're built differently. So that stuff was amazing. But then when it came to the face and the voice, that was something that was horrible and scary until it was good enough. And that's what I'll say. It was one of those things where, the way that works with these deep fakes is, unless you have all the budget in the world and you have the best of technology, and even then it's not perfect. Right. They're working through that stuff in post in a way where you keep seeing versions of Mr. Miyagi that are horrible to look at, sound bad, embarrassing. The kinds of things where you're questioning am I going to have a career after this? Is this the end? Is this it? Like, we had a great ride, 60 something episodes, and and I've worked for 25 years in this business. This is goodbye, because it's that bad what you're seeing. You're just like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And if I were an audience member, I wouldn't want these people ever working again.
Right.
Now we got to the point where, and we were assured by the team.
I have to interrupt. The fun thing is John relaying that to our post supervisor, because it's like, sometimes you can't help but be honest, and it's like you're seeing something and you tell them like, our careers are over if we do this right now.
yeah that's the thing. It's like, the bottom line is I'm the kind of boss who is very positive about stuff, but when something's really high stakes and this is the thing, it's like, I'm like, we all have eyes here, we're all watching this thing right now, so like we can't delude ourselves. We all need to be on the same page right now that this is dangerous for all of us right now. So we're all in very bad shape in these moments, and we should be scared. And we were assured by the people who do the deep fake for a while. They're like, it's going to be like this until it's not. And then they said to us, they're like, it's going to be like this. Don't worry.
You're being told, you're actually sleeping better at night because the people making it are telling you it's supposed to look like shit, like for a while.
yeah.
And it won't. And then you're like, okay, as long as it's like,
we're like,
as long as you're not happy with it, then
So then when they said that, I think we were comforted enough to be like, okay, we could sleep at night. You're like, okay, we have a shot at this. And then you see when you're like, oh, all right. And then from there, you're fine tuning it further and further.
The thing that I think I'm still upset about, like, is it's not like they don't know what Pat Morita looks like. So
right.
Do we really need to give notes? Like, shouldn't they just like look at Karate Kid and look at the thing and figure it out and wait until it looks like him before showing us this, like, I don't know, this like Down syndrome, like third degree burned version of, like deformed Miyagi. Like it's everything. It's that uncanny valley that makes you disturbed, and yet it's like they want you in there to give notes. I'm like, just make it look like Pat Morita.
Yeah, our note is it should look and sound exactly like Pat Morita did. That's our note. But we were there being like, his eyes should be a little bit like this, or his mouth is a little. It's like, you shouldn't need these notes. You all know what he looks like. Here's it is. Watch Karate Kid. Look at what he looks like. Make it like that. Like, don't like. You're the artist.
Make his hair look obviously not horrible. Like,
yeah, exactly. It was the most frustrating process.
Oh, I can imagine.
It was what it was. And listen, I'll say this: the end result, they delivered. It's the kind of thing where there are going to be the people who just hate it no matter what. They don't like the idea of us doing it, or they didn't like it. They didn't think it was good enough. When I've seen most people watch it, their reaction is, "Oh my God."
Yep, that was my reaction.
Or they tear up because they're seeing Pat Morita acting again in their mind. And it's a wonderful experience for the audience. So our team, they were right. We were the hysterical, like, scared people there, and they were the ones like, calm down, it's going to be okay.
But also, that's our job. Our job is to not say, hey, this is already looking great, like, because then it wouldn't have gotten to the place it got to.
That's for sure. Yeah, no, you guys brought a lot of like smiley faces. I wasn't expecting that at all. And when I saw that, the dream sequence when Daniel and Mr. Miyagi were going at it in the Sekai Taikai, and I was like, what is this? I was just like, I didn't see it coming, and you guys did an excellent job. That being said, I want to put the Q&A on for hold for a second. I know how appreciative you guys are of the fans. So I rounded up a few comrades of mine who personally want to thank you guys. And this particular group is a favorite of mine. Their energy, their passion is unmatched, in my opinion. They got a 6'6" beast. They like to put people through tables. They got a queen of their own. They walk around and knock people out as if they were Ivan Drago themselves. So, without further ado, I'm going to cue in some music for these guys. I present to you Tiger Strike Dojo. Joshua Lamboy.
Yes!
Paula Taylor.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Daniel
Sensei, even up. Control yourself.
Was me.
They're all here.
They're all here.
Hey guys,
Hey,
What's happening?
good to see you all.
You too.
me too. We just kind of wanted to send you guys a big thank you. Paula and Daniel, myself, we're stunt folks, we're actors as well. And to be able for you guys to create something 30, 40 years later that hits all of us so well and is a huge success, and bringing a Miyagi-verse back, and all the fans love it. And the fact, personally for us, it meant so much that we got to be a part of something that we grew up being like. We would have lost a bet if you're like, hey, you think you'll be in the Miyagi-verse? What are you talking about? Karate Kid's done 20 years ago. So it meant a lot to us, and we just want to thank you so much. We loved playing these characters, and it was a great time. When we were filming, we all said we didn't want to leave when we wrapped, because it was like one of the best experiences of your life. And we kept giving the same person 3 hugs. All right, bye. And I'm sure the same for you guys on your last day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I can just say, like, the overlap, between, actor, stunt performer, on this show it's been the blurriest of blurry lines in the best possible way, where we always want to show like fighting on screen in a way that's real, that's authentic, that matches the energy and the style of the dojo that's fictionally created but is based on a lane in terms of whether it's coming from a particular martial art, and being able to find those performers that can do it both. And it's like I need somebody to go out there to actually take the fall and to see it happen, but to also embody the character. And can you do it in a Russian accent? Seeing Tiger Strike take flight was the full realization on everything that we designed it to be in the writer's room, and it was a true pleasure.
I'll also just say, I think the circumstances of Tiger Strike being eliminated are suspicious.
Yes.
I mean, certainly the way Sensei Ivanov reacts to it, he's clearly in the dark, I would say. And you got a lot of suspicious players there, from Silver to obviously Cobra Kai had a lot of incentive to maybe
Daniel's suspicious. I mean, everybody.
Braun, like, we don't know that Gunther Braun's hands are totally clean. Clearly, there's like a Braun thing that's happening anyway.
We know actually from season 5 that he kind of has an anti-Russian sentiment.
Thank you, Hayden. That's what I said.
That's true.
It's just like I just like for the fans out there of Tiger Strike, I'll just say that there's a reason to be suspicious, and to wonder what if.
100%. I'll also say, like, to your point, Josh, that when we were at the Sekai Taikai, that stretch of filming was one of my favorite experiences that we've had on the show. It was so cool to have that many amazing martial artists in one place, and the camaraderie and the love that you felt amongst everybody that was there. I remember talking about, like, we talk about spinoffs, and I'm not predicting any spinoff like this kind of thing, but like that world tournament was like a place that, like, I wanted to live in more. Like, I loved it so much. You guys were all great. I just want to say quick shout out to Paula.
Yes.
Just because we've known each other for years through social media with these very sweet and heartfelt messages of love for the show, and a humble desire to be on the show over the years, with really creative and well put together ways to stand out from the pack to try to get herself on the show, and again, always in a humble and a respectful and loving way. When we had this final season, and we had these opportunities to have more martial artists on the show and have this international tournament, I had reached out to Ken and Don and was like, okay, let's make sure that Paula's in the mix. And Paula did the things to get herself to Atlanta and to be there, on her own, hustling this whole time for season after season to finally be there. So when she got to play Draga, it was just a very exciting thing for all of us to see her there on set and perform. It was a long time coming, and to fight major characters on the show and have dialogue and stuff. It was a really cool thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God, thank you. And John, thank you. You have been so patient and kind because, with all my love action ideas and everything. Thank you. And meeting you in person was just like a cherry on top of this dream. And like Josh said, just kind of meeting everyone on Takai Sekai. It was just I grew up watching The Karate Kid, and you might find it cheesy, but that movie actually set the direction for my life. And for the three of you to bring it back to our lives was just something I never imagined possible. And then John, as soon as I saw the first episode, you were the first person I messaged, and you've just been so kind. I'm so glad it finally worked out. So thank you guys for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Also, Daniel, I feel like you probably could have beaten more guys up. At the end of the day, I think you were underutilized. I think that it would have been nice to have the fight for you versus Axel. The two biggest guys at the tournament. There should have been a full-on episode that was that fight.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys were. I mean, you know how fast we shot that Sekai Taikai stuff. I mean, it was all happening. Boom, 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 boom. Even the giant brawl. It's a miracle. It exists in the way it does, because it feels like, oh, you must have just been at karate camp for months on end just shooting these action sequences, and it's like, no, most of that was a half a day, that was an hour, that was 2 hours, that was a full day, but it all adds up to days, not weeks or months.
Yeah, people have asked me, and I said, guys, it was only 3 days, no one got hurt, it was well choreographed. Everybody was firing on all cylinders, and when you have everyone firing on all cylinders, we got a great show.
It's amazing that we got that accomplished, and I'm so relieved that I miss everything, but there's a part of me that's oh, thank God we're.
Yeah, shout out to the stunt team. Shout out to Sherwin Shalati, our director. Of those episodes, and it was just it was well planned, and everyone was hustling, and we were all working together.
I mean, our stunt team, our camera team. I mean,
everybody.
It was a full. The choreography between camera and stunt and an actor and like you said, with nobody getting hurt. It's the biggest thing that you need to have to work out. Absolutely. It's a blessing that it worked out exactly as planned.
And on a personal note, as a kid who I have a photo somewhere my mom has me in a split watching Karate Kid Part 2, watching Chosen, and then getting the call, oh, you're just fighting Chosen. I'm like, wait, what? And then afterwards, Yuji, as we all know, is an angel, hits me up and he's like, can I have your number? I'm like, what? Calling me on my birthday, I'm sending him messages. So again,
he's the best. Yuji's the best.
But we major thanks to you guys for doing this, and for everybody, and I'm sure for yourselves who are major fans. I heard for years they're like, guys, the creators come to the stunt rehearsals and are watching, and they love it, and that doesn't happen often. So we knew that this show had a lot of love, and it clearly, it speaks for itself when you see it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank Tiger Strike for coming on and saying your piece, and I will be in touch with you guys soon.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Care.
Awesome. Bye.
See you.
All right.
I know Davai and Suka are my go-to Russian
Your
words.
go-to Russian words.
The second one's not a nice word.
Yes.
So once again, thanks to Tiger Strike for coming on here. And so I want to talk about Karate Kid legacy characters. One being Dutch. Unfortunately, we all know he passed away back in September of 2024. My condolences to his family. Now, you guys have a very, very neat story about Chad McQueen, and I was hoping you guys can share this with the viewers on how close we were to seeing him return. You guys went to his home, met up with him, and I'll let you guys finish the rest.
We were very close to making it happen. We had script pages. We had met with Chad at his home, had a great meeting, talking about, what we could actually do together. We had scheduled everything to actually be part of our LA part of our shoot, part of those 2 days at the very end of our shoot. And as it was getting closer, unfortunately, Chad was falling into worse health. And, his team reached out to say that he unfortunately wouldn't be able to take part in it. But thankfully, it wasn't on the eve of that happening. And we were able to pivot. We were able to, to go to plan B, which ended up being, perfect in its own way. It wasn't like a lesser than scene. It was another way of telling a scene, and in some ways a more emotionally connective tissue way to bring the Johnny Lawrence story full circle. But we mourn the death of Chad, and others who have left us during the course of making the show, from Rob Garrison to Ed Asner, and others, and those that we never got to know in the first place from the franchise, but we're thankful to have made that connection and to have shared some laughs and to have gotten a chance to kind of embrace one of those ghosts of the past.
Yeah, and can you guys maybe share of like what kind of role Chad McQueen might have had, or you guys can't really disclose that?
It was just that it was basically all the beats that were in the scene at the cemetery. Like it was Johnny going to visit Dutch in prison, and instead of like pouring his heart out to like his mom's grave, it was kind of to Dutch, and kind of hinting at the Applebee's incident, but not quite saying everything about it. And it was I guess like some of the things that Johnny says at the cemetery are what Dutch says to him, like kind of like you don't get second chances. And it was really like the whole point was just to see how far Johnny has come, that you're seeing him with the beard, remembering where he was at the beginning, and him feeling like this is a guy who wishes he could have had another shot, but like you don't get another shot in life and it's too bad. And now like you're flashing forward in the next scene and he's got this baby, and like so much has happened since then, but it's all like kind of, come down to this fight.
Right. Yeah. And last question, because I know we're strapped for time here. So now the big one. We didn't get to see Hilary Swank reprise her role as Julie Pierce. Can you give us fans like insight on why that didn't happen? Was it maybe like conflicting schedules or bad timing, or?
It was, we tried. It was as simple as, at the beginning of the season, we laid out kind of the general things we wanted to do. We didn't get super deep into what we were going to do with her. We knew that she was a student who also trained under Miyagi. So while Daniel had this Miyagi storyline that he was going through, she's somebody who in, one of the final episodes of the season would potentially be able to provide some insights that maybe Daniel didn't know. That could have helped him on that journey. And she also probably could have played a role in something with Samantha and Tory as two young female fighters. We reached out multiple times to her representation, and we were just sort of told that very graciously that it just wasn't something she was looking to do at this time. It was no disrespect to the show. It was nothing else. It was just what she was going through. I think she had recently had twins. She was, we could only speculate. There's nothing else. All we were told was that, at this time, she unfortunately was not going to join us. And we respect her wishes. We remain fans. And who knows, the Miyagi-verse hopefully will continue going forward in different directions. And maybe one day we'll see Julie Pierce again. Hopefully.
And I want to thank you guys for taking your time a day to come on here. And I hope we can have you guys back, because it seems like we have a lot more to discuss that we didn't finish. And I have to agree with a lot with, I was Team Hayden today. So
Fair enough.
So it was a lot of fun. And before I let you guys go, you guys know I'm a big Harold and Kumar guy. anything on Harold and Kumar maybe in the foreseeable future? Are you guys ready to come back to your old stomping grounds of Canada and maybe another stoner comedy? What's in the works?
All I could say is we're talking about it and something that we're interested in and nothing official to say.
Hey, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you so much for coming on. I had a blast talking with you guys, and hopefully you guys can return and we'll talk more again.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.